It does sort of raise the question as well of whether or not water should be a commodity that we should be able to sell, or whether it should be thought of as a shared natural resource.
Hold that thought, because I think it is safe to say that that will become a very large policy, legal, and technical argument over the next number of years.
It's interesting. Just before I came here, I'm going to Washington, D.C. next week, and I emailed the guy who runs the Contra Costa County system in San Francisco, who I know, asked him if he's going to be there. He says, well, I'm going to be there, but unless we have to put rationing on, then I won't be able to make it. So there's obviously big problems out there, and we're very lucky here. I think to your second question, that we do have plentiful water, but we have been seeing conservation going on in this region. I mean, we have to program a 2% reduction in consumption, not just because businesses are moving out and people are moving out, but because all the appliances, everything comes low flow these days. So we've seen some level of consumption, and we've not tried to promote using more water, even though we have plenty of water, understanding that we do have, because the economy here is that we have these fixed assets that we have to maintain. Because people use less water doesn't mean I can start not maintaining less water mains or less fire hydrants or whatever. So it drives, the less water we use, it drives up the cost, and a lot of people don't, to run the system, people don't understand that. But so it's kind of a funny situation that we're in here. Should we be more aggressive in this town of asking for more conservation? That's a debate. I mean, we all want to be good stewards for sure, but I don't know that going out on a big campaign is really something that we absolutely have to do, as opposed to those people like my friend in Contra Costa that are looking at rationing.
Well, let me just interject really quickly here and say, does that maybe beg the question of whether water should be charged on a usage basis or not, maybe some basic flat rate per household, for example, and then maybe above a certain level
right.
of usage
get and that's
higher charge.
And that's what we do. We do charge on a per usage basis here in this region. Chicago, on the other hand, didn't have any meters, and they just did flat rate. Okay, so there was no control on usage over there, and Mayor Daley, now of course being very green-minded that he is asked them to put in meters. Okay, and that's going to be quite an accomplishment in the city of Chicago, as you can imagine what the capital outlay for that's going to be, and what sticker shock they're going to get when they start getting bills based on usage and paying back for that metering system that they're going to have to put in there. So we do bill based on usage here, and in Cleveland Water's case, the more you use, the more you pay.
I want to maybe give a slightly different take in trying to answer your second question. And this is a point I wanted to make anyway. I think I mentioned to Gretchen the other day. I'm 50 years old, and I remember 1973 very clearly. I was about 14 years old, and I remember the ecology flags very clearly. Remember the little green ecology flags? It was sort of the green and white stripes with where the stars would be. There was the peace symbol, and I remember the first oil embargo of '73 when gasoline shot up and everyone was talking about energy independence. And my point is, people talked about ecology for a number of years, and that was sort of the rage, and then you didn't really hear a whole lot about ecology anymore. One of my concerns is that nowadays the rage is sustainability, the concept of sustainability, and a lot of people are talking about sustainability and sustainability this and sustainability that. What I really don't want to see happen is that this issue gets lost again, and there are a lot of issues out there that could subsume this. I mean, the economy, to say the least, is one of them. But one of the things that I think as Director of Ohio EPA is, I do, and we have one of our divisions does this, we do try to educate people, younger people in the schools about the importance of water, so they don't take it for granted like I did when I was a kid, that they understand that there is meaning to this, because I think we all, maybe it's just human nature, life, we flow from one crisis to another. Government tends to flow from one crisis to another. So a sustained educational outreach, or just a sustained message that, folks, this is a very precious resource. We cannot lose sight of that and get sidetracked. And again, 1973, which to me feels like yesterday, a lot of what we're saying now, we were saying then. And I think that's a telling lesson.
And I think charging the true cost of water really helps you get to that point of sustaining what Chris is talking about.
Mr. Korleski, you expressed regret that Ohio wasn't divided up governmentally among watersheds. But as I recall Ohio's legal history, when we had those terrible floods in the 19-teens, the state did provide for conservancy districts. I know there's a Muskingum Conservancy District and a Little Miami Conservancy District. What do they do, and why don't we have one?
The short answer is, I don't know why you don't have one, because I don't know enough about why they were created in the first place. It is my understanding, as you said, that they were created primarily as flood control mechanisms, where the water could be better managed. And those districts, to my knowledge, are largely on the eastern side of the state. I don't know why there wasn't one here. I don't know what the intent of the legislation was or what the debates were at that time. So on that specific question, I would say I don't know. But even aside from the issue of flood control, the issue of watershed management on a regional basis, I think there's a lot more than flood control that's at stake, and that would be things like development, zoning. The term smart growth gets thrown around a lot. I'm not sure I really know what smart growth means anymore. But the idea that there is a more cohesive and this is also an overused word, holistic approach to managing water within a given area based on its regional characteristics and based on the relationships with the areas outside. But the short answer is I can't answer your question about the history of the watershed districts because I just don't know it.
My question is directed to Mr. Ciaccia.
That's close.
Ciaccia. Okay. As I understand, the intent of this program of 3 weeks, 3 meetings, is to stress the abundance of water in the Cleveland area as an incentive to businesses to locate here. And a business using a lot of water would have a choice to find a contained pond in the middle of rural Arkansas or come to Cleveland and pay for sewage charges. Now, to go on to my question. If a business uses a lot of water to make, let's say, soft drinks or bottled water, I understand that the sewage charge is linked to the water charge. I also understand that there is a way to get some abatement of sewer charges if you can demonstrate that you're not discharging that water to the sewer. But I also understand that that's a very onerous, almost forbidding procedure. So my question is, who carries out the program for abatement in such cases? Is it your agency or is it the individual communities? And is it really as difficult a task as they say it is?
We do carry it out at the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. I don't know it to be that onerous. We have many businesses that do take advantage of it. I guess the answer that's only the answer I can give you at this point in time without having somebody go into the total mechanism. But there are people here who can address that with you after the meeting if you want to talk about it.
For businesses to our region, and is it something that we can expect would increase in the future?
Well, water certainly could be a draw because of how available it is. As we talked about these areas that don't have water, I mean, that's certainly a problem. But here, let me say something else about that too. A lot of these communities, Phoenix, Las Vegas, they're all new communities. Okay, and so their infrastructure is relatively new.